I'm Steve Bell, Chairman and CEO of Tennessee Bank and Trust. We are a privately owned bank with offices in Cool Springs and Green Hills. We are a business that happens to be a bank, and our customers tell us the difference is clear.
We're going to talk about social enterprise, and we're going to talk about it from lots of different perspectives, and it means different things to different people. And Hannah, with your role, what is social enterprise?
Well, that's a question that we get a lot at the Alliance and something we talk about a lot. So the working definition that we use is using market-based solutions to address social problems. So you can see that in nonprofits creating earned revenue streams to help supplement what they're doing, and you can see that in for-profits who were created to address social problems. You see that in for-profits who maybe decide as their company grows that they really see a way that they can contribute. So there are a lot of different ways, and that's something I think that's a big draw and a reason that social enterprise is so exciting.
I think it is so wonderful that you can do well by doing good. And you can be running a for-profit company or a not-for-profit company and be incredibly successful as a business person and as an enterprise and still be so philanthropic and servant-minded. And Mark, that makes me think of your company, Chance Light, which is an exciting company, growing. And so just in a nutshell, what is it about your company that makes me think of servant leadership?
Well, Chance Light is a company that provides direct services to children who need special help. And we work with about 14,000 kids a day in 27 states. We do make money by doing good works, and we do it to scale, which I think is very exciting and something that we're really big on pushing as an idea. It's really, I think, particularly in the field of working with public education, pretty unusual. There are some real cultural barriers to doing this sometimes, but we've been able to kind of fight through those and to get to a great spot where we can grow and move into new markets and help a lot of kids.
John, I wanted to ask you a little bit, about your company and some of the extracurricular kinds of things outside of Advent that you participate in, and why? Why do you do it?
Well, first of all, our economic business, our economic engine is not as noble as Hannah's or Mark's. They're much better at showing the good work that they do related to their, the core business. So our firm, we say we design experiences that move people. We use exhibits and displays and interactive to bring to life public spaces. So that's how we make our profit, or attempt to make our profit. But a few years back, we decided that as a part of the global community, as a part of the local community, we would start investing some of those profits in change, in a sense of social responsibility. And so we've dug 37 clean water wells in Togo, Africa, Guatemala, and Haiti. And then last year we invested in a nutrition packet that allows the successful delivery of nutrients to African children who are facing terrible malnutrition. Their issue is clean water, so UNICEF has provided infant formula, but the problem is clean water. And so there's an organization that found a way to deliver that nutrient formula in peanut butter packets. And so last year we invested in those peanut butter packets and cured malnutrition in 200 children in Africa. And so we do that because we believe it's appropriate as a global citizen, but we also do it because our firm of 50 young people really engage with that philosophy. So
you've really seen a difference. I mean, you've been doing this how many years, and you've seen people more engaged and maybe better numbers with retention and so on?
We have. We've been doing it for over 5 years now, and you have to own that endeavor and that investment. And so the way that we own it is not only by communicating it to our people internally, but it's on our website. And so even this week, as I was interviewing a prospective employee, when we asked the question, why would you want to work at Advent, that was something they referenced. And so we find that time and time again, but we also promote it with our customers. It is the substitute for the metaphorical fruit basket at Christmas. That's what we do as our gift to our customers. We name each well for a major customer and put a commemorative plaque on the well, and it's a very meaningful thing.
Oh, that is wonderful, and I want to get back to the millennial discussion. But Walker, I wanted to ask you to talk about, why should businesses participate in these kinds of things? What's it do for their brand, and what there are different reasons to do it. What are your thoughts?
So we're a local construction company. We do work primarily in the Nashville region, and I look at the construction business like a service business. And so you're providing the people to provide the construction management to build other people's buildings. So what happens is that when all of your work is really just in the Nashville area, you're in this service business, then your brand is the trust that people have that you'll do a good job. And so what we look at is that we're sort of giving back, and you're sort of giving back from your own personal philosophy of, love your neighbor, but at the same standpoint that sort of carries over into business. We do a lot of work, construction work for not-for-profits, because we feel like, we're sort of engaged in a partnership. We need to invest in them and to be kind of a good partner. And so, our brand is both personal in terms of, what are we doing, but it also is something that we're giving back, and really sort of through giving back, you sort of get more back.
And Hannah, what do you think about this discussion? And I know you work with a lot of similar companies. Can you quantify the value of participating in the community and giving back or paying forward? How does that work?
There is some research about this, especially when you talk about the way consumers interact with your company. In 2014, 65% of people said that they wanted to purchase from a socially conscious company. 35% said they plan to increase their spending with socially conscious companies. So I think there is continued research about this to really be able to put numbers around what it means for your company. But a lot of it, even in the for-profit world, is risk prevention. The Volkswagen situation is something that I've been tracking really closely, because you see now that it is just bad business to do bad business. We talk a lot about doing the right thing the first time, and so whether that is engaging at a higher level with your community in terms of giving back and social enterprise, or just being very clean and ethical in the way that you do business in the community the first time. So I think there's a lot of different levels that you see where social enterprise and good business are really changing the way that businesses operate. Horizon Milk is one of the original organic milk companies, and they were really derided by the organic community for selling to Walmart. And now Walmart is the largest distributor of organic milk in the world. And so, in talking about how you really are you dedicated to your mission, or is it more about, the pride and the cachet inside of the community? That's something that is really interesting to watch social enterprise evolve.
And what was the other one? Was it Tom's model, or what's the one where you make a product and give a product or something? I mean,
Give up here.
What about the bank, Roddy? What have you got going on?
Well, a couple of things I think we've noticed, Dan and I have, is that back when we started our business careers, a lot of times the companies would try to get their crew engaged in, a lot of times, just financial support. And what we're seeing more now is especially the younger crew, they want to be involved with some sort of hands-on level. Like I know Walker and I do some work with the Salvation Army, and we've been able to get some of our young crew here involved at different levels, and they want to know, where can I go and roll up my sleeves and touch and see and do something and see the end product. I'm glad to write a check of some amount, but I'd really like to do something where I can see more of my direct connectivity to what's happening and the impact it has on the recipient.
There are a lot of millennials who have left their jobs just because the job was so demanding. I mean, they could keep up with the job, the money was good, but they didn't have the time, literally, to go and give back. And they wanted to take a job that paid less, but took less of their time so they could actually give back. Mark, I know you've written a book, and maybe you could unpack a little bit about why the whole society should be involved in education.
Traditionally, public ed has sort of had the mentality in relationship with businesses, give me your money, keep your hands off our schools. But they're our schools. And particularly in a town like Nashville, it's growing so fast, we really have to expect more. So we were really encouraging responsible organizations to partner with public schools, and we're really working hard with public school boards and superintendents and state officials to kind of communicate the message. It's really okay to ask for help, and if you're going to ask for help, you need to ask for help from the best source of solution, regardless of the tax structure of the entity you're talking to.
With the idea that it is affecting all of us. I mean, our children are affecting all of us, and that is at the root of what the partnership can help solve. John, I want to talk more about the wells and how you get I mean, you're not drilling the wells because you're here. So how do you get your employees to really feel that passion?
They take great pride in the fact that for us it's not just a check that we write, it's a check to a highly researched organization that has no overhead, where the funds go directly to the work of drilling the wells. We get photos of the wells that we're digging in the location of the citizens that we're serving in the location, and we share those not only with our employees but with our customers. And so it's a personal thing. You really are changing the lives, with one well of 1,200 people. 1,200, men, women, and children will have clean drinking water that we all take for granted. That will change their life forever. And that we can do that with a little bit of profit is a very meaningful thing. And then again, try to point our customers to, what Walker was saying is, the inherent value of trust within your brand. We're a service business too, and trust is at the heart of what we do.
Do you use social media much to communicate both with your employees and with your end consumer?
We repainted a local community center in Nolensville, and all of our team were there, hands-on, refreshing this all in their shirts, and they love to tweet and Instagram about that. It becomes part of their personal brand expression. They're identifying with it personally. Do
you give people time during the workday to do these things, or is this, sign up on Saturday and Sunday and help us build a habitat house or help us paint it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of companies as examples. They gave them 2 days paid for them to go out and do volunteer work, and then another day paid do something with regards outside, and that was more physical type stuff.
And they could choose whatever they wanted. It wasn't necessarily company sponsored. And you were talking, John and others, about the fact that consumers are interested in companies that give back, but you have to be authentic. I mean, it's very important to be doing it for the right reasons, but if you're doing it for show, it just doesn't ring authentic, and the consumer knows it.
What it really boils down to for us is it's relationships. And so, we talk a lot about relationships, and relationships are something that you build over time. You build it by, doing a project, on time that was really difficult. I mean, so sort of the harder you work, and you're sort of building that relationship of trust through your ability to, as you said, do it right the first time. But in the end, it's going to be about who do you want to work with, who do you like to work with. And I think that that's something that sort of the millennials are going to be, want to go out and do things either quicker, realize that it just takes a long time to build those relationships. And then you can lose that trust, just like you mentioned with Volkswagen, in an instance.
I agree with you, Walker. I think that you're trying to demonstrate this sense of long-term commitment as opposed to a transactional philosophy, that it's woven into your culture.
One of the challenges we have is following up on Walker's comment and others about relationships. We don't get any business till they like us and trust us. And the millennials and others, sometime younger in their careers, they think they can accelerate that. It's sort of hard. As a result of that, we try to get our team to engage in a lot of things, whether it's Leadership Brentwood or Goodwill or whatever it is. And they build these relationships. And then the hard part we have, I guess maybe not the hard part, but the challenge is, how do you take our amount of limited resources and apply it across the board? Even as small as we are, banks are fairly visible. We have a lot of customers and a lot of crew. And that's one thing we struggle with, is how do we take scarce resources and use them, because we don't like to tell people no.
So what's the best business decision, and from you guys' perspective? And I say that because we're all business people, and we do have to run businesses and make a profit so we can pay people and have jobs for folks. How do you make your decisions? Do you have sort of a brand that's related to the wells, and then I hear, and you've sort of got a brand because you're in education and you're encouraging people to read to students. But I wonder, Walker, do you let folks choose for themselves? Do you go out and pick, okay, this is associated with our business, so these are the kinds of things you can work with? How do you keep yourself from spreading too thin?
I would say that it's not that complicated. You would just follow your heart. So I was also thinking about, when we were talking about millennials, well, millennials are my children's age. Well, how's the best way to communicate with your children? And it's not going to be do as you say, they're going to do as you do. So they're going to follow your example. So, I would say that for us, you've got to just live it out day to day, and then they'll sort of follow along.
How would you, or how can you measure results to know if, in fact, there's so many good causes out there and you're doing them. How is that going to affect your customer base or potential prospects? How do you take it from there and make it even more effective?
Well, I think John was talking about, I think you can measure retention, which is really important, and recruitment. I think that surely, I bet Tom's can measure it. I bet Tom's knows, when they do some sort of campaign related to, okay, this month if you buy a red shoe, we're going to give 3 pairs of shoes. So I think there are ways to measure it. I don't know if any of you all have ever, the relationship, I think that's, it's not, you can't really measure it, but in your heart, as you say, somebody's doing business with you because they like your style.
Right. So I would say that you can't measure it, because if you're measuring it, then you maybe possibly, well, I want more, so I want to, and it's not something that you can actually do. So for me, it's the same as you're sowing seeds, and you don't know whether some of those are going to bear fruit or not. I've just been my experience that over time, that as you're giving, for some reason it returns more to you. So I don't know that it's something that you really can measure.
I think there are 2 issues. One is the concept of how do you modulate it to guard your investment. You asked the question, Paula, to make sure that you're not spread too thin. So we do modulate it, and so in years of great profits, we're able to do more. In years of more meager profits, we're able to do less. So we modulate the investment that we're making in terms of the charitable work we do. I think the returns on investment are qualitative, and marketers have been known, great brands have been known to measure qualitative returns. It's measured in brand loyalty, but it's measured in the notes that you get back from your customer, or when you walk in your customer's office and you see that they have your photo of their well prominently displayed. It's a part of their life now. And then I love what you said, Walker, about the kind of the inspiration that you're providing for your employees. So now, our employees, for my business partner and I, the Christmas gifts that they provide to us are socially responsible. Mm-hmm. And so last year, our Christmas gift was a new scoreboard at the gym for youth encouragement services. That was our Christmas gift. I do agree with your philosophy. You have to follow your heart and your gut. That's how you make it authentic. But I do think there is a sense of how do you modulate based on what your resources are. We started very modestly, and then I think you measure the returns qualitatively. Mm-hmm.
Do you share by any chance with your employees ahead of time, this is how our year is going and this is what we're going to be able to give away? Do they share in the budgeting, or they just sort of get a general idea?
We share it at our Christmas party, at our holiday gathering, as a part of reflecting on the gifts of the year and the progress. And so they're not necessarily, involved in the budgeting of it, but they're involved in the rewards of it, and they can take great pride that the fruits of their labor economically have provided this social change and this social impact. And we would have never dreamt how many prospective employees refer to it just by promoting it on our website, or maybe they've done the Google research and seen some of the articles that have been written about our work. But when you say, why do you want to work with our team, and they say, because you're socially responsible or because you have a sense of compassion, it suggests that they will fit with our culture.
So let me ask a devil's advocate question. Do any of you ever get pushback from a company that says, you're charging too much, I wish you'd stop digging those wells? You're charging too much, I wish you'd stop going to Bolivia and, using some of the profits for people who need it.
No, the marketplace sort of takes care of that by itself. So no, it's always a competitive leveling field in terms of competing with our customers, and what we found is that as Nashville has grown, the types of businesses that we're competing with are also on a larger scale. So Nashville is no longer a sleepy second-tier city. We now have, major regional contractors that we're competing with, and so what you're doing is by building a brand of either loyal or invested in the community, you're using that as a differentiator versus just sort of the big out-of-town corporate, and that may be a way just to more of a differentiator. But still, our marketplace is going to be as competitive as it possibly can be.
Sure. Yes, Roddy.
Go ahead, John.
Roddy said something earlier, and that is that they have to like you and they have to trust you in the service business. You alluded to that. What I find, Paul, is I think the competitive forces of free enterprise are at play. And so what I think is a real subtlety is if your prices are too high, if you have the infrastructure and the platform of trust with your customer, rather than leaving, they'll tell you. Mm-hmm. So if the trust is there, they'll give you feedback. And I've had those conversations with our customers. They never put it at odds with the goodwill that we're doing, but it's because of the goodwill that they feel the platform to be able to say, rather than walking from you, I care enough about you that I'm going to give you this feedback. It's very tough to hear, but it's a whole lot better than them completely leaving you.
That is a really important point. Amen. That is amen for sure.
One of the things I think we've seen is that every time one of our crew does something, they come back better.
Yes.
They come back different. They come back feeling better about themselves. They come back feeling better about our organization. And the more it's sort of self-propelling, it makes you want to do even more. So there's a real clear, we're all about growing our crew because it's about differentiation, and whoever's got the best crew is going to win. So there's a real business impact for us for encouraging our crew to do the right thing as much as they possibly can.
Hannah, I wanted to ask you if you observe what your observations are about some of the organizations that are members of your alliance, and I don't know how many that is. First of all, are they mostly for-profit or mostly not-for-profit?
It's probably split about 50-50.
Okay, and you talked about the fact that you sort of discuss or promote ethical business as well as, but describe what the alliance does, if you would.
We bring together social enterprise to be able to speak with one voice. So I think the Center for Nonprofit Management does that really well for nonprofits. There's other organizations that do that really well for for-profits, and we are helping to carve out a space for organizations that are balancing the tension of mission and profit. We are creating mentors, advocating, education, everything around that concept, knowing that you do want to have stringent business practices and operate a lean company or nonprofit, but you don't want to sacrifice your mission in doing that. And really believing, and seeing the ways that social innovation allows for that to happen. In the past where it would have been, it's either or and one of them's going to have to drop. We've just seen too many examples now that are too exciting of, well, if both of these have to stay, then let's figure out the way that we can do that.
How old is the organization?
The national organization has existed for over 20 years, and the Nashville chapter has been here for 5.
5 years, yeah. So when you talk about those tensions, when you think about that and you discuss that around your round table, what kind of tensions are you talking about?
Always the profit versus
How do we give this up?
Yeah, and that what's really exciting is sort of the positive peer pressure that has developed to make your social impact be a competitive force in terms of is it a differentiator, almost to the point where if you don't have it. I was thinking of the question about metrics. It's not always even in a positive bump in customers or investment, but if you don't have it, then you, in a lot of industries, are at a disadvantage. That's not true in all industries so far, but it's really interesting to watch that. Coffee is an example where fair trade now is expected. And so we're seeing that in other industries now where people say, oh, your company just makes money? Well, you know, that's fine. But and I think in terms of being excited, we've seen industrialization, we've seen corporations grow, and it's interesting to watch. But I think people now, in terms of excitement, are wanting to see something more. How else can you engage the community? How else can you give back? And really want to be excited about a company. I think that you see that with employees. We've had people approach us and say, can we do pro bono work for you? We don't know what social enterprise is, but our employees keep talking about it. So we need to do something about it, you know? And that to me...
You betcha.
Yeah, so then in terms of the tension, that's where I think mission has become a real voice at the table with profit. And so then we talk, you know, the specifics of, okay, well, how can you... what other partners can you bring on? Are you expending too much profit on something that's not one of your core competencies? And so we get into the nuts and bolts of that as well. But I'm always encouraging people. It's not either or anymore.
Just the size of a company. I mean, I have a small company, and I will tell you, I see a huge sea change. I founded the company 28 years ago, and we wouldn't have been sitting around this table 28 years ago. Of course, we were all little pups then, right? We wouldn't have been sitting around this table talking so much about social enterprise, and I really think that. And so I'm fascinated by what's caused this sea change.
I think it is relative. So I grew up in a town of 5,000 people, and when Walmart first came in back in the day, they gave so much to the community, and our local grocery store, you know, and our local banks, you know, took ads in the yearbook or helped provide uniforms for the football team at the one high school in our county. And so I think we've been doing socially responsible things, but I think as we have urbanized, it has put a new dynamic in things, and so now you still have local businesses who are investing in the local community. But I read a study that said that, you know, this growing affluence that we have, the gap that we have globally, the free flow of information, we now can see hurting humanities on the other side of the planet, or, you know, in South America, and then the fact that people are expressing a sense of loyalty to brands. You know, those things are really driving this sea of change. And but I do think that, you know, I'm a product of a small town where really caring merchants, entrepreneurs, business people invested in their community.
I think our model at Chance Light of blending really the business and the mission into one entity is intriguing, but our competition is for talent. I mean, that's really the only governor on the growth of our company is finding the right talented, skilled, certified teachers and the right talented, certified, licensed therapists. And so we're taking a population of people that are already intent on doing good, but we have to convince them and present our value proposition that in kind of a backward way, that working for the for-profit company is going to do more social good than working in the public sector. And that is a challenge. It's one that we have to do that every day while managing our market. I think that is going to be a really growing, nuanced part of the evolution of this kind of social impact in business.
Boy, I loved this. This was really exciting to hear, and I just thank you all for your thoughts.